Well, hello, folks. I think I'm here. Welcome to the second, not annual, second weekly Cliff stream. We're going to be talking about a lot of topics today. We got into some of them. Let me put on the comments here. Can you guys all see me okay? We're doing well? Give me a wave if we're working. All right, I'm getting happy, Raleigh. Happy Thursday from Raleigh. Hello, Cliff from Carl Jacobson. All right, we're here, baby. You probably heard me getting into some of what I feel really strong about on Tony's show. He's that other guy whose show I go on sometimes. The hat on backwards. Looks a little bit like a trucker. You know who he is. But there are key topics we want to discuss. It's going to all fall under, as I told you, Kamala's wins, because every week Kamala is winning, and every week Donald Trump's losing because he's kind of a loser. But some of the big ones I want to discuss, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a big one. I want to discuss our media. And I'm probably going to get a little bit angry. I may curse a little bit, lose some monetization here, which would be tough. My editor will get pissed at me for that, but I'm going to work to not swear too much, say darn. No, there'll be other stuff coming along, but I'm trying to decide if I should kick into it before a friend named Tony arrives. Hey, look, he's right there. I'll add him to the stage. Hey, Tony, you're there.
Yes, I just left my show and I came over to your show. It's amazing how technology works.
It's like cool and stuff. Yeah, it was. It's always a little awkward now that you come on right after, because I'm like, do I start before Tony gets here? Do I?
Oh yeah. Well, I've got a few things I got to do to like take everything down and make sure everything.
You just need to go pee. You can be honest.
Well, I actually have not pissed yet, so that's why I can't stay too long today, because I am.
No, we're going to hold him on for a while. He's going to. If he didn't buy one of those,
off and go take a leak. Either that, or I'll just.
You didn't buy one of those Trump brand. If you didn't buy a Trump brand diaper, that's on you, pal. They're out there.
Are they super absorbent? The best diapers ever. Yeah. Fantastic. They absorb all the piss.
They have like 100 diamonds. You know, I love diamonds. Oh wait, is that the watch? Or is that Trump University? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember. There's too many of them.
My steaks, they have Lee Greenwood in my steaks singing to you. I just want to see him sometime go into full-blown dementia, which happens at least once or twice a week, and just start fucking up and combining all of his products.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you tie my Trump steak around your neck. It's from China.
Trump ice, Trump water. It has the Constitution and the Pledge of Allegiance right there on the bottle, right there.
And now, because Don Jr. had a great idea, we have Trump 8 balls. If you're out there and you want to do live streaming,
that's great. I'm going to say that might be the one Trump business that will flourish is Trump 8 balls.
Should I create that, guys? Should I create that? Those of you in the comments here, I mean, let me know, because that could become part of our merch, like Trump 8 balls.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy Newberg has been doing some pretty good AI stuff with commercials. Maybe you could make some collaboration with him. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. He's a funny dude. He already let me use that AI of the sharks and batteries, which if you guys haven't seen it,
it's a good one.
He did the story with AI, and it's one of the funniest things you've ever seen.
It's a great one. I played the Mark Robinson. I think it was, what was it called? Poops and Shoots or something like that. He did a commercial. It's like a Mark Robinson game board. So that was a good one too. I played that on the show.
How does the game board work? Are there always 3 players? Mark
I'm not really sure. I don't know. And
his wife isn't allowed to play with him, but your sister is.
Get out of the threesome card instead of get out of jail free. I don't know. I have no idea. That went.
It's really a shock.
To quite the place. So what are you talking about?
New
today?
member, Cadillac. All right. Well, I told you. Look, we want to talk about some Kamala wins.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that those end up getting Republicans really, really, really upset, because she's crushing them, right? She's doing everything right. First, I thought I'd talk about, and this is something I'd love to have you be a part of. And guys, there will be a rant. This may lead into it on mainstream media.
Sure.
I'm gonna talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because that's affected by our media environment too. You need to understand, and some of the people in our comments maybe will say something, who are not from the United States. She wouldn't be able to do this in virtually any other democracy. she would be shut down, right?
Because it's seditious. It's sedition is what she's doing.
But it's a combination of hate speech. It's disinformation that gets people harmed and killed. They don't allow that because it's very weird how you can actually have free speech, but also try to not have free speech kill people. I mean, we've gotten to a point of extremism with the First Amendment that we got to with the Second Amendment, where we've just made up new meanings. And that's because the Alito court doesn't actually believe in anything except for whatever works for the right wing. But here's what I want to talk to you about, because what's been awesome and what I've loved to see is these whiny little, damn it, I don't know if I can curse or not, these whiny little biatches.
Yeah.
I'm going to curse at some point. It's just gotta happen.
It's going to happen. But as long as you keep it on, a certain level, you'll be all right.
Right. Okay. So these whiny sons of bitches. Let's try that one out.
Yeah.
Like, like Andrea Mitchell the other day, who was like, Kamala needs to sit down for more interviews and you're like, the Donald Trump just sat there and said he'd never heard of a Category 5 hurricane. Maybe that's more important. I don't know. I'm new here, but here's the key thing: the brilliance of she sat down with who was it over at MSNBC? Somebody good. She did actually sit down and made the mistake of sitting down with the CNN crew. And
she's been going on some of these podcasts that have larger audiences than CNN or MSNBC could ever dream of, like Call Her Daddy podcast.
That's what I wanted to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. And thank you, JD Christie, for the super sticker. Call Her Daddy podcast, The View, Howard Stern. And the thing that's great about that is you've already heard Trump lash out because that's
when
where
Trump
he used
to love
in
Stern.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's been amazing, the trajectory of Howard Stern, who still does his comedy, does whatever, but came to sort of, appreciate that, I think the Christian right really freaked him out. He was like, no. And he started becoming more of a Democrat probably about a decade ago. But Trump even further. I mean, all these guys that used to have Trump on their show.
I think Howard Stern started to see really the writing on the wall when Donald Trump was questioning Obama's birth certificate. He's like, "Whoa, this isn't politics. This is hate. This is different. Yeah. This isn't the back and forth." Because Howard Stern has always loved the politics of Hollywood and celebrities, right? Like that's been his shtick. That was his shtick for so long. And the actual election politics bled into that. But I think
you could get it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say,
you could get offended by him, some people did, but my argument always was, intent matters. And this is where I sometimes get into arguments with friends on the left. You making a Jewish joke about me I can find funny. When it's somebody I don't know and they're being serious, it's a different thing. So when Howard Stern was sitting there with Robin and saying certain things and making certain jokes, I know people were like, "Oh, he's racist." But my belief always was, look, comedy's a separate thing. He was making jokes. The real racism, the real sexism, anti-Semitism, classism, whatever, is when you target people like that, you actually think that they're really different. You hurt them. You deprive them of either freedoms, economic rights, or whatever. And that's a different story. So I've never been on that bandwagon. There obviously are some exceptions to that. There's certain words we should just never use because of their past connotations. But I make jokes all the time, as you know, about myself, my background, and I just think can
I give you a pop culture example from the 90s? Because in the 90s, there was a lot of TV shows and movies that would do this, and a lot of people go back and they look at some of this content and they think it's homophobic. One specifically is the show Friends and Seinfeld. Now, Friends and Seinfeld in the 90s was,
and I'll say quickly, not to cut you off, but just to cut. Greg Edmond has a great point about Blazing Saddles, which was supposed to be the opposite of racist. And now satire. There are people who'd say, that was a satire. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, so in those TV shows, and there's one specific episode of Seinfeld, and you might remember the episode.
Native American one?
Well, that one too, but this one specifically where George and Jerry end up, a journalist thinks that they're gay, and they say not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that now, of course, there's a lot of jokes made about gay people in the episode, but the point was that it wasn't ever talked about in pop culture, is never talked about in the mainstream, that there were actual gay people who existed and that it was okay for them to exist. And that was the point, the intention behind the joke. It wasn't to demean and punch down on LGBTQ. And that's the difference between some of this comedy is
Thanks,
am I
Peter
punching
Campbell,
down?
by the way, for the $10.
Right. Am I punching down, or am I making people aware of a certain subject? And I think that's the difference in the comedy, whether you're punching down or not. And George Carlin actually talked about it a lot.
Oh, George Carlin was brilliant at that. And there are people that would get offended at stuff he said today. I remember at one point, he's like, yes, how we talk, what we say is important and all that. But when you're getting upset because they're called manhole covers, you've lost the plot line, basically. I remember he did that whole sort of skit on that. Right. And that's the thing. And so I think I will always do my best. I'm no policeman, and I'm not going to police the left, but to talk to people who are fellow open-minded people about where I think some of us take it too far. We don't want to become totalitarian like them. We don't want to say, you can't say this, you can't do that. Yes, there are certain things, certain words you should never say. I think you all know the big one, and I'm not going to even refer to it. But there are things that, because their historical context is so painful, that they should never be involved, in anything. But most of the time, when we're joking around about little things, that is a way of relating. That's a way of getting things out in the open. And in any case, that, to get back to it, that is what Howard Stern was doing.
Well, and
what Donald Trump is doing is targeting people like that.
Well, that's a good point, because some of the most despicable recordings of Donald Trump saying some of the weirdest, most creepiest stuff he's ever said was on Stern's show. And and Howard wasn't like making him say it. They were just having a conversation, and Trump was willing to say this crazy,
that Ivanka was a piece of ass.
Right, that he would walk in on teenagers getting naked because he could do that because he owned the pageant. There was all kinds of when he was
a lot
about
like what he said on that bus, right? That was very similar to what
exactly.
If you're a star, you can do it. They let you do it, right?
And Howard was just what Howard really trafficked in was the absurd. That's what Howard really trafficked in, was absurdity. Right. And that's what he wanted, was absurdity for his show, because he knew it would be like a fucking car accident when you're driving along the highway. Everyone stops and slows down to look because of the absurdity of what it is that is happening. They would stop and look. But again, it's the same thing. But going back to Kamala doing these interviews, I think that the mainstream is really mad that she's doing this, but she's doing it to reach an audience. Well, I mean,
she's doing it to reach an audience, and because they suck, they are losing power, and they fucking know it. Okay, it's the simple fact of the matter is that they have purposely chosen, as we talked about in your show, to dumb themselves down, to be the opposite of any other reporters who try to educate. They try to take away the differences, make everybody seem the same, which is so dangerous in a democracy. And they know better. And they know it won't affect them. They know it'll affect you. It'll affect most people out there, but they're in nice little cushy jobs and live in Manhattan and DC and these places. And I know them because I've lived there. Thanks, Craig Edmond, for joining. And so it infuriates me, right? The New York Times just put out something where one of the headlines was, Kamala Harris bobs and weaves in her, interview. And then the other thing was, Donald Trump takes a harsh position on immigration. Harsh position? You mean like saying he's going to fucking kick legal immigrants out of the country? And let's be honest here, he's picking on people because of the color of their skin. Haitian immigrants who live an hour or two from me here. Meanwhile, he's got this freaking anchor wife, right? I mean, she's an anchor daughter. She came over here, swung around a pole naked, said it was art, and then her parents were able to move here too. She's never been here legally. So this pisses me off to no end. Let her go back to whatever what is she from? Slovenia, Slovakia, I'm not going to continue that sentence. Okay, so I am exhausted because these are the trash hillbillies. Marjorie Taylor Greene is like if you put a big pile of garbage on top of another big pile of garbage on top of a third pile of garbage, let it congeal in the sun for a week in August, in India. I'm saying that because it's hot there, by the way, folks, just to be clear. And then it was the whitest garbage in the world, and somehow it found a way to go into human form and come alive. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, they know this about her. I mean,
so she's like, wait, she's like a landfill monster. Is that what you're saying?
She is. She's a white trash landfill that came to life.
Like landfill lurch. Landfill lurch. That could be getting another good nickname for Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, here's her tweet. Yes, they control the weather.
Jews.
I also control the money. I can make you lose a lawsuit. I know your doctor. You're okay. The Georgia lawmaker and staunch Donald Trump ally wrote on Twitter. I'm calling it Twitter. I don't care. Anyone who says they don't or makes fun of this is lying to you. By the way, the people know it and hate all of you who try to cover it up. Okay, that's just her being dumb because she doesn't really know how to speak English. But the point is, she's making this conspiracy theory after the Jewish lasers because God knows Jews want to start wildfires in California. As she said, I mean, I've been itching to start a wildfire in California because I don't know why. Maybe we control all of the cleanup companies. Yeah, we've taken over all of the fire stations. That's what it is. But she's done that. She kicked a reporter who was interviewing her in the leg, a younger one from one of these democracy group. She's said a million other things she's been censored for, this conspiracy theory, that conspiracy theory. But then these reporters, these people who have all gone to these top schools, whatever, top schools like, what's her name? RFK Jr.'s romance partner from the New York Magazine. That really helped there. So they will make her seem like a normal person. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene said, no, the fuck she didn't. That little imp weirdo over there who doesn't know how to work out and hangs from the thing so her shoulders are eventually going to break off. And by the way, I want to be there when her arms come off and she walks around with these two bloody stumps, but who's too stupid to work out, who's cheated on her husband with like a gym rat and a dumbass right-wing reporter. I'm cursing too much. Who again, told generals that she knew better than them about a Chinese spy balloon she was freaking out about. And they all got together and were like, is this the stupidest person who's ever lived? Again, they normalize her. They normalize Trump. These are the leaders of this movement. They attract more people like them. There's people showing up, who are doing threesomes with the sister-in-law and have pictures of themselves with fake families. That is not normal. That's not a normal political movement. That's not a normal social movement. That's not a normal human movement. Okay.
What I'm loving most about this stream so far, last week and this week, Cliff, when you talk and most people have a little voice inside their head that tells them to stop doing something. But you say it out loud, and that's the funniest part. That's the best part so far. Is you're like, I need to stop. I'm not going to finish that sentence. The voice inside your head, like, hey, stop doing that. Like you have like the devil and the angel on the side of you, and they're actually talking into the microphone with you. And that's the best part. Well,
it was very difficult because there's Slovakia, there's Slovenia, and then there's another word that starts with sla, and I was going to make up a country that started with that, but I thought I might offend certain people, and I'm sorry to the I didn't say it to the ladies out there. I held back.
Oh man,
again, the thing is here is I get so frustrated because people sit here and I get asked this constantly, right? For everybody from my mom to friends to whatever, like, how is this so close? And again, I'm not saying there aren't more than one reason out there. Our education system has been assaulted, right? We created a primary system, that people don't understand did not exist before 1976. Primaries were beauty contests. People would go out there and show, how well they could do. And then parties would pick people they thought who could win, but also who were reasonable. Thank you to Last Life Crisis. Hey, I know what that's about. For becoming a new member. But then we had to create this open primary system. And who turns out in primaries and caucuses, it tends to be the most radical, loudmouth people, okay, who are the most devoted, who have the most time on their hands. Not to say hopefully all of us do too, because we care, but there are a lot more of them than there are us. And they end up giving us the radical candidates. It happened much more obviously in the Republican Party, but there are some districts in the Democratic Party where we've had loons. I'm just going to tell you, Dennis Kucinich at this point out there shilling for Russia. You know what I mean? I mean, there have been some folks in our party.
RFK Jr., can we say he used to be one of our, we didn't maybe know it as much, but now we know it. He was one of our loons.
Right. I went on his radio show. I mean, this is, I think, is before he'd ever mentioned the election stuff and before the worm got really filled up on cerebral material.
Well, you know, they said the worm died. I'm wondering if the worm died from starvation. Just if there wasn't anything. Why am I here?
I'm looking for a brain.
Right.
What the, I mean, come on. I break into a perfectly good head. And there's no brain here. Like, now I got to go and I got to pick the lock on the next head.
Right.
You know,
It's
hope I get in
ridiculous.
there.
I mean, you think you'd get into a Kennedy, the refrigerator would be full, but that fucker was empty. There was nothing in the cabinets of the pantry either. That worm starved to death.
No, that worm, I swear that worm was like, of all the places I could have picked to break into in all of the world, I picked this dumbass's head.
Anyways,
but what's important about all of this is, again, they say all this crazy stuff. They do all this crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still show up in debates, and with exceptions, that guy, I am mad at myself for forgetting his name, Kyle something or other, who was amazing, and that one with Lauren Boebert, who just sat there in that local one in Colorado.
Yeah, Kyle
and
Clark.
just kept Kyle Clark and just held her feet to the fire and kept hitting her on the, on her, the what we can call the Beetlejuice showing.
Right.
And he did some national. I give credit where credit's due. The Philadelphia Inquirer, Cleveland Plain Dealer. I'm telling everybody out there, unsubscribe from the New York Times and Washington Post. Those two newspapers have said we're going to cover Trump as he is. We're not going to lie, and they do. I'm not saying people shouldn't read any mainstream media outlets. Reward the ones that are doing things right and watch the shows like mine and Tony's. Right. You could combine those things. But I
want to go back to Kyle Clark real quick. You should follow Kyle. Do you follow him on Twitter? You should definitely.
No, but now I'm going to,
because he posts a lot of videos and reports that he does. And Kyle is really brilliant, not just at politics and not just at content, but he's really brilliant at making sure that he gets his point across in a short period of time.
Well,
and
I just found him, and now I love that he's got, like, I did a video with him. I love he's got 250,000 followers, so I'm hoping he can make his way to a larger station.
You should follow him on Twitter, and you should go look at his page.
I just did. I'm
at
now
least on
following,
a weekly basis. Mm-hmm.
I am. What I'm saying is, like, again, I love what Kamala is doing with these various shows, but what she should also do, if anybody there is watching this, I hope you are, and if anyone's taking my advice, and I did write ads for Joe Biden, so somebody thought I was not too stupid to be involved in a presidential campaign. I'm not involved in this one, but reward, sit down and do a roundtable with the Philadelphia Inquirer, Cleveland Plain Dealer, ProPublica, places like that are actually doing the job of journalists. Reward the people, the entities. They're doing it. She should also do it, obviously, with creators, folks like us, and whatever. But reward the corporate entities that are making the right decision to put democracy ahead of profits. And again, I love what she's doing here because this has been my dream campaign. I mean, you don't need to go very far to find me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, screaming and yelling about this stuff. Why? Why don't we control the narrative? Why do we let these crazy people say things and we just say, oh, I'm not going to respond to that. Respond to it and take them
right. Exactly.
Apart. This is so hard.
Take him freaking apart. Well, I'm about to curse and about to piss my pants because I've been sitting in this chair for 2.5 hours.
I think our ratings might go up. Could you do both at the same time right now?
Maybe that might be a good thing. But Cliff, I so appreciate that you're doing these live streams every week now on Thursdays. Hopefully it'll grow. Hopefully you'll do more of these because I think people are going to enjoy the conversation that you're having and the way that you're having it, especially with the experience that you have in politics and where you come from, and knowing that you have the context of recent history in politics to tell you that, hey, what you're seeing is all fucking bullshit.
Right. I'll still make a poop joke.
Yeah,
I'll still make a poop joke along the way. So that's
exactly. And make the people laugh.
And if that happens, because credit where credit's due, Tony will be the godfather of my show. And he will be referred to as such because he convinced me to do this. So
I did. So, I worked hard. It took a little bit, but I twisted his arm and finally got him to do this.
Because technologically, folks, I'm what you would call not smart. Otherwise, I'm going to let Tony go and just tell you all, like, to me, doing this, when I record videos I put up, and I hope you watch them, the 5-minute ones or whatever, I enjoy it. I really enjoy nothing like this as much as this. So when Tony, with him leaving to lift the leg and take a little bit of to have a wide stance, if you will, in the bathroom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to you, frankly, guys, to ask me questions and for us to have a conversation here, because I'm going to talk. I got topics I want to talk about, but I want you to steer me, because I want to know what you want to know about, and hopefully I am smart and funny enough to deliver. And if I'm not, you can tar and feather me at a future place and time.
Well, I'm going to let you have that conversation with the audience. Audience, ask this guy questions, and have your questions ready every week, because this guy's been around in politics and the media for a long time. Cliff Schecter, I appreciate you.
I've been around in politics like Mark Robinson's been around a porn site, guys, is what I'm saying.
Well, that might be. We'll see you later. Thanks, Cliff.
Take care, buddy. All right. Well, awesome to get to start off. Thoughts on Bob Costas? That's funny. Luke WS. He looks familiar. It's almost like I know him. Bob Costas gave one of the greatest takedowns of Trump that I have ever heard. It was hilarious and it was awesome. And I think he's a little past his prime. Watching him announce Yankees games right now. Don't kill me, guys. I'm a Yankees fan from New York originally. Dad's from the Bronx. I'm legit. But I think that that Bob, while having great opinions on Trump and while once being a great announcer, maybe should slow down a bit. But no, okay, I got to get back. I got to get to the political stories. So, I want to know what you guys want to know about it. To me, right now, and the media leads into this, because they refuse to correct and just say Republicans are lying. Republicans lie all the time. Republicans are distorting. Republicans are getting people killed. If you're telling people that FEMA is not in North Carolina, you're getting people killed. If Ron DeSantis, has to come on and actually say, no, Donald Trump is full of shit. The fact of the matter is, there I went cursing again. The fact of the matter is that they're answering everything we've asked for, we've gotten. Brian Kemp in Georgia, everything we asked for, we've gotten. North Carolina, Tom Tillis, Senator, Republican, everything we've asked for, we've gotten. But what ends up happening is there's a concept, guys, known as stochastic terrorism. You may be familiar with it. And what that means is that when people make threats like Trump does and others, you can't predict statistically where and when a terror attack will happen. It could be a small domestic terror attack. It could be someone with a gun, sadly. But you can predict that something will happen. And it's the same thing here. When they lie about FEMA resources, when Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and when they tell you that there aren't resources there for you, so maybe you don't even bother to go where you would go to pick them up. They don't tell you where it is. It doesn't exist. Then you may get flooded. You may die. You may not have enough food. You may die. They kill people. Okay? I wish I could say that in a better way, but then I'd be lying to you. They did it with COVID. They killed people. Studies show Donald Trump lied to people, lied about masks, lied about vaccines, and in the end, we had 300,000 to 400,000 more people, numerous studies show this, die in this country than had to. I lost a cousin. She's older in a home, and the home got hit, and a lot of people died there. Okay? This stuff kills people. And so if the media refuses to do its job and call it out, and we don't control the disinformation online, this is our future. We can't have democracy without people having good information. Not only will they create situations where there will be danger, they will get people killed. They will get fascists elected. Okay? They will harm our country. They will weaken our country. They will embarrass our country, which is why already, as Kamala said during the debate, all these foreign leaders laughing at Trump, to which he couldn't handle it. Of course they're laughing at Trump. They've been caught on camera, Justin Trudeau and Macron and some of them. Because how do you not laugh at him? Hell, Boris Johnson, that guy, the guy with the hair in 14 directions, was laughing at Donald Trump. Okay? So here you go. I did a little bit of ranting forward here, but let me look. Let me see what you guys got for me. It's sedition. Tony's correct. We got that from St. George 28. Yeah, it is. And I think we needed to expand our definition of what that means. And no, I'm not going for like a, Alien Sedition Act. I'm not, John Adams kind of thing. Although overall, I think he was a pretty good president, but that's for another time. There is free speech, and there are free speech rights that I, as a writer and as somebody who does this, feel very strongly about. But if you are knowingly sharing disinformation that leads to January 6th, that leads to people dying in hurricane zones, it leads to people not getting vaccines, that leads to people going places and shooting people. So you may remember the one in that horrible shooting at that supermarket in Buffalo, with that replacement theory right-wing lunatic had heard the stuff that he was from New York State somewhere. So Elise Stefanik had said it. Others had said it, knowing they wouldn't be held responsible. Sure, other right-wingers too. He goes, he finds a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood, walks in, shoots people who are black and kills them. Do you guys know that the only person who went to jail, besides, I believe he was caught alive and went to prison, I don't remember. The only person who went to jail besides him was in the United Kingdom, because there was a guy in the United Kingdom who encouraged him to go and do this. There, the laws say you are encouraging violence, a hate crime, you're encouraging someone to commit an act that will kill people. And that guy got about 8 or 10 years in prison. Here, free speech. That has to change. That is fire in a crowded theater. I'm sorry, if you're knowingly, I mean, again, there has to be a standard for that. I'm not saying every time somebody innocently says something stupid. I've said plenty of stupid things online. You know, it happens. But if you have people who have a history and they are sitting there constantly spewing this disinformation that is harming people, getting people killed, they need to be held responsible legally for that. Absolutely. And it is one of the things that has to change. Like, you can only have a democracy if enough people have the information to vote in a way that they want to. We don't have that. Do you understand? Or let me change that. We are borderline. We don't have that. This election, again, why is it close? If everybody who's a low information voter, who is busy, they're working hard, they're raising kids, they've got a job and they don't even pay that well, they're commuting, they're this, that, they're so busy in their lives. If the headlines and the chyrons on TV and everything were telling them the truth, they'd know who to vote for. They know that one side has fully disqualified itself because you have a convict, a rapist, a traitor, a guy that lies incessantly and gets people killed. And the media would constantly be reminding people of that. And this would be a 20 to, you're always going to have 30 to 35% who will support a lunatic like this in any society. But you'd be looking at more of like a 60 to 40, 62 to 38 kind of LBJ over Goldwater kind of way. But because of them, and I really largely blame them, our education system plays a role, our electoral college plays a role, but it's largely because of that people do not know the truth because they will not tell people the differences. They will not tell people that one party has dinner with people that idolize David Duke and people like that neo-Nazis are part of their coalition. They will not tell people that. So we have to. What else do we got, guys? What else do folks want to talk about here? Do you use the weather machine? That's right. For flat Earth or round Earth? Clover, yeah. Well, my weather machine is one of those things. It kind of depends what the mood I'm in. Like, Clover, where are you right now? I'll make it snow. Some days you want a nice breezy 70-degree day, sit outside, enjoy yourself. Other days you want to go skiing. So I don't choose to only use my weather machine in one sort of condition. I like to spread it around. But Cadillac, thank you. Gifted 5 memberships. You are awesome. Yep, and remember, folks, I'm going to be doing these streams a lot. Any super chats are appreciated, super stickers, Superman, I don't know, whatever, all these various things. And I didn't even tell Tony, because I don't have to tell him, he's not the boss of me. But if this one going as well as it's going, and the last one, I think I will likely add a Tuesday one next week, especially with the election coming up. You think that's a good idea? Thumbs up, hopefully. And so we'll start at least doing 2 a week. Because I love this. Going back and forth with people is awesome. Even talking to Tony right before he has to go and can't hold his bladder anymore. It was fun. But I'm going to look at a list of topics and see, because, again, there's so many things. I made the point about DeSantis. May have seen, we're talking about Kamala's wins, that your medical debt is no longer going to be on your credit score. God, if only the people all these people who are barely getting by, who haven't seen their wages rise, haven't had a minimum wage raise because Republicans, but are voting Republican. Union members who are voting Republican, which is like, hi, gazelle on the Serengeti, lion, would you like to come meet me? If they only took this stuff as seriously as, hey, you should hate that person because they're different than you. I mean, it's insane to me. So now people are going to have higher credit scores. You know what happens then? Hey, guess what? You can get a house, you can get a car, do all sorts of things. It reminds me of what she's done with, there will no longer be a college degree required to work in the federal government. You may have a trade or a skill where you just are that smart. You just are that good. Why do you need a college degree? She's getting rid of some of these older sort of things that we've had in place that don't make sense. It helps regular people. Talk about MAGA thinking FEMA is going to take their house. Yes. Well, thank you, Cynthia Rice, for that. That's one of the conspiracies out there. Conspiracies. They're talking about jackbooted thugs coming, knocking down your door, arresting you because you haven't paid your electricity bill, or you haven't, you're late on the rent, taking your house from you, arresting you, putting you in a FEMA camp. They've done all of that. It's all lies. The media knows it's all lies. It should be on the cover and on the top half of every single newspaper. The way the New York Times thought it was so important a week before an election or less to put the top half of the newspaper covered with email stories. The same stupid email stuff that like Donald Trump's entire family has done. Did Hillary Clinton make a mistake? Yes. Should there have been an investigation, if we could trust, a bipartisan one, to look into it? Yes, she would have gotten a slap on the wrist. They would have said this was a mistake and it was wrong. And that would have been it. Because literally every member of the Trump family and every other Republican has done the same thing. Jim Williams for another $20. Thank you so much. Seriously, all that makes it more possible for me to do this. So thank you. But I mean, again, like they're killing us, the media is. And don't get me wrong. I think we're in great shape. I think what they're doing in North Carolina, actually, now that it is so over the top, is backfiring. And people are saying this is disgusting. And they're going to lose North Carolina because of it. Watch. I think they're in trouble in Georgia. I think they're in trouble in Florida. Real trouble. Somebody said, is Jim Jordan going to lose his seat? No, sadly, most likely not. Although I encourage you to get behind Tammy Wilson and support her. It's going to be a lot closer. There's a 7-point, what you should do when you look at polls to understand stuff is that since they overturned Roe, there's been a 7-point bias, not bias isn't the right word, but a 7-point bump to Democrats. We've performed on average 7 points better than polls say we're going to. They can't catch, new voters. I even have a son who just has registered to vote. Will be voting for the first time this year. There are a lot of folks like that. They can't catch folks like that. Polls ask you if you voted in the last 2 elections, and they screen you out if you haven't. You're considered an unlikely voter, and I can't tell you how fired up a lot of younger folks who haven't voted are to come out and vote. The problem is Jim Jordan's district isn't just a +7, Republican district. It's one of the most ridiculous districts in the whole country because they've turned this state into something close to an autocracy. But we have issue 1 on our ballot. Anybody here in Ohio, please. We have issue 1 on our ballot, and if you vote yes, Republicans are lying to you and telling you to vote no. Vote yes on issue 1. Just the way we enacted abortion rights and legalized marijuana, we will end gerrymandering. And here's what's going to happen. Because Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland, as we call them, the 3 Cs, and this will affect all of you. They're the parts of this state that are growing. The rural areas are shrinking. And frankly, because of habits, let's say, Michelle Obama said we have to eat healthy in school. I'm going to go have 14 cheeseburgers. Higher rates of diabetes. They told us smoking is bad. I'm going to go smoke a pack a day. Higher rates of lung cancer. They have like 47 guns in their house. Higher rates of accidental shootings. And there was an excess of something like 18,000 COVID deaths. A study showed that among Republicans who didn't get vaccinated. They are shrinking, we are growing, and you get rid of gerrymandering, which always suppresses the vote by a couple of points because people think there's no reason for me to go out and vote. They're just, they're gerrymandering the whole thing anyhow. We'll be a swing state again. So that's the answer to that question. And when we are, that's when Jim Jordan will have to compete in a district with people who have fully functioning cerebral cortexes, not with people that wander in with like an axe in their head, or, you know, people who come in and say that they're abducted by aliens and spend a few weeks with Darth Vader on the planet Vulcan. I took that from a movie, by the way. Whoever can get that, I'll send you a piece of merch. You know, we're not getting our best and brightest voting for Jim Jordan. They gerrymandered the district just to make sure that if you had anything above a 4th grade education, you probably couldn't vote for. When there's a fair district there, he's toast. Even a relatively fair one. Like, it can be a lean 4 or 5 point Republican district, just a pretty Republican district, and he will lose. I put a sign in my car that says, vote for democracy because I don't care what people think. I'm 76. Well, good for you. And I missed who you are. So now I got to go back up and see you. I apologize. Froxy Roxy. That is a cool name. Electoral college leaves us open to minority rule. Paul Young. Yeah, well, a lot of our rules do. And we've got to address all of that. The electoral college is a lot tougher. Now, you've probably heard there's an electoral college compact where there are certain states saying that they have agreed that they will only vote for the winner. When we get past 270 on that, and I think we're at 230 or 240, so it means taking over a couple more states, then the Electoral College will officially, we won't have to change it in the Constitution. It won't matter anymore. But there's also a way to hit, and I always say you absolutely, Republicans always say, you know, we can get here, we're going to shoot for there. We only shoot for here. So what we have to do is shoot for there. And you then whatever ends up being a compromise. So when they say, you know, Puerto Rico wants to join as a state, which they can have a vote about that, and DC obviously should be a state. Yes, absolutely. And that might be 3. You know, they might vote a Republican senator here and there, but often you're looking at 4 more Democratic senators to countermand the states. And I'm sorry if I offend you, but you know, Wyoming and South Dakota, where really more cows are voting than people, and yet they're getting 2 senators each. Well, there's also the U.S. Virgin Islands, where I spent a fun summer living. There's Guam, and there's the Marianas, Northern Marianas Islands. Those are all territories too. Hi, we're not in the 19th century anymore. There's no manifest destiny. There should be no such thing as territories, all right, where people don't even get everything that they should. You add up those 3 areas, and you get to about 500,000 to 600,000. Wyoming only has 600,000. I think we should do that, and they should all be able to vote on 2 more senators. Then you'd be adding 6 senators to the U.S. Senate. My guess is Democrats would have 4 to 5 of those at any given time, if not 6. You can't fully make up for the minority rule, as was said earlier, but you can help it. You can help lessen it. These are things we need to do. Obviously, the filibuster to even do any of this stuff, this can all be, everything I'm saying right now can be done by an act of Congress. The same thing with the judges, by the way. 9 of them, ludicrous. And there shouldn't even be 13, which some people are talking about. We haven't added any judges to the Supreme Court since the 1860s. You know what that means? Our population has grown by 11 times. We had 30 million people, 35 million back then. And we don't have enough judges to even take most of the cases. So even outside of the political bias, like, most people can't get their cases heard. Well, that's ridiculous. You want to depoliticize it? Make it 17, maybe even 21. Keep it an odd number, add a ton of justices to represent our current population, and you don't know which 9 justices or however many are going to decide your case. Then the right can't stack the courts anymore. No longer can they say, well, we know these guys are going to decide on abortion. They won't know. And you accomplish all of that in one. Guess what, guys? You can do that with just getting rid of the filibuster, the Senate, the House, and a signature from the president. These are the things we need to do to get us back to where there is the power differential. They don't benefit from the fact of being in a minority view just by where they live. So that is how I see that. Donald Trump trash. What are you saying? DJT trash is a. I'm seeing Andy Travels here is on fire sale, 70% off 30 days before the election. Yeah, you know, he's going to Madison Square Garden. Anybody out there know what was done in 1939 in Madison Square Garden? Right, they had a Nazi rally with 22,000 people showing up. I'm sure some were New Yorkers, a lot of them weren't. It's one of the darker days in American history. And I'm interested to see what the reaction is to it now. So you may not know this, proving to you folks, Kathy Smith Simeon, who's saying Guam is a beautiful island. I've heard it is. I haven't been there, been out to the Pacific further on. I'd love to go there. But proving to you that Ohio, we have this weird connection to everything. The owner of Madison Square Garden, who, by the way, also sucks, is an idiot, and has created like the worst Knicks and Rangers teams for the last 30 years, should be kicked out just for that reason, is a member of the Dolan family. The Dolan family is from Cleveland, everybody. So that is, let me get the name right, because there's a whole lot of them. That's James Dolan. His nephew, Matt Dolan, just ran the Republican primaries with J.D. Vance, I believe it was. Or is it, no, it was with Bernie Moreno more recently. Ran the primaries. That's his nephew, Matt Dolan, who's still here, who, by the way, his dad, Charles Dolan, who's James Dolan's brother, owns the, I think it's the Guardians and the Cavaliers. But what I'm trying to tell you is it's this oligarchic, rich Republican family. James Dolan may have run here as I'm more moderate. No, he's like that schmuck in Maryland, right? They're running. They're pretending like I'm not as far right as Donald Trump. It's like, oh, okay, you're only as far right as Mitch McConnell. They're still right wingers. So this right winger who owns Madison Square Garden in the middle of one of the most liberal cities in the country is letting Trump do a rally there, and I don't understand why the hell he's doing it, except for maybe they've already accepted they're going to lose and think they're going to lose. And every time I say this, I say to you, you must get out there, guys. You must vote, and you must make sure that we send them into the dustbin of history. Hopefully a very smelly dustbin. Trump maybe won't be wearing diapers. Gross for all of them. But we absolutely, must win. But in any case, so he's doing this thing at Madison Square Garden. It shouldn't even be allowed. Okay. And I'm interested to see the pressure that New York is going to be putting on Dolan for that. But yes, they come from this crappy right-wing family from Cleveland, just so you know. And God, the guy, not only do they suck in their politics, but again, I used to actually pay attention to Rangers and Knicks games before James Dolan took over and kept rehiring Isaiah Thomas as coach. Like, I think after the 45th time he'd sexually harassed somebody, he finally decided not to. Schmuck. What else we got, guys? We are at 247. Do you support changing? Okay, we got super chat. I'm going to read what you say. Peter Campbell, thank you very much. Do you support changing the number of U.S. representatives? It's been frozen at 435. Sorry, you're moving quickly here. Since 1929, when our population was about 122 million, 280,000 people per. Now we're at 3,765,000 people per. Yes, absolutely. That's another thing left to time that we haven't dealt with. Do we want a more representative democracy? Do we think that any one person is able to really represent 765,000 people? There's simply no doubt in my mind we should have. But again, they won't want to do that because, again, guess which areas of the country are growing? They're known as cities and suburbs. The other areas are not. We'll end up with more representatives, and they've proven again and again that they do not care about democracy. Well, actually, they care to overthrow it. That's what they do. They don't care about us. They don't care about anything. They care about power. But yes, Peter, it's a great question. And yeah, I haven't sat down and looked at that as closely as the other things I discussed, so I'm not going to tell you how many I think we should have. But if, with your numbers there, and there's no reason for me not to believe them. They look pretty good. 280,000 per to 765. A little quick math means almost 3 times as many. I'd say we needed at least twice as many representatives, maybe 3, maybe 2.5, whatever, but a lot more. Okay, we need a lot more. And maybe then if, we can also move on the not having to have our actual representatives to call time all day, all the time to raise money, because we'll have gotten also, after overturning this court's anti-constitutional beliefs on free speech and disinformation, and anti-constitutional beliefs on guns and individual ownership, and anti-constitutional beliefs on privacy and abortion, we can also overturn their ridiculous, patently ridiculous, if you've ever studied any history, belief about money in politics, which was literally the thing the founding fathers may have feared more than anything else. They moved the capital of the country away from New York because they didn't want Wall Street. With Wall Street in New York, they did not want the financial capital and the political capital to be in the same place. Pre-internet, cable TV, telephones, you get something, 300 miles away. That's a real distance. Harder to lobby, and that didn't exist back then. So everything they feared, King George, someone like King George being bought off. That's why the emoluments clause was in there. They were so scared because foreign countries often would buy off kings, and get them to let their troops come in, let them, whatever. Trump ignored that and we didn't do anything and let the Saudis rent out the top floor of his crappy bedbug filled, stinky, whatever hotel in Washington he no longer even has because nobody would go there. He'd let them rent out the top floors. Same way Qataris did it too. Nobody stayed there. They would just rent out a couple of floors. I mean, totes that was about staying there. It wasn't money laundering. What else we got, my friends? My ballot is arriving any day in the to mail in Oregon. All mail. It is all mail in voting. Oregon. Kathleen Matthews. Oregon's brilliant that way. More mail in voting. It actually is quite secure. You could argue for these reinforced drop boxes too, which we've got. Again, our Secretary of State, loser Frank LaRose, which should be his name because he came in like 4th of 4 candidates when he ran, or 3rd, 4th, when he ran against J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel, or J.D. Mandel, as Trump called him. So they hate him. He's a loser, and he's still sucking up to them by trying to remove drop boxes. Oh, they may be dangerous. Those things were like mailboxes. They are like mailboxes, but like twice as reinforced. No one's getting in there. All right. Maybe if you crash a Mack truck through it, I think people will notice. But mail ballots, absolutely, drop boxes. Like the point is that we should be making it as easy as possible for people to vote. But again, there's one group of people, it rhymes with P-publicans, who don't like as many people voting as possible because then they lose. I mean, I don't even want to sit here and do the math with you because it's depressing, of all the really close votes over the last 20, 30 years. Now, when we still had the Voting Rights Act, it was a lot harder for them to do this. But since the Supreme Court, of course, tossed that and the Congress didn't reenact it, it's even that much easier. I mean, there's numerous elections. When we come within a couple points in certain states, we probably would have won that election, except for their voter suppression, which is why everybody must register, must get out there and vote. Check. I hope you've already checked your registration deadlines. I hope you have voted early. The more votes we bank early, I've already been hearing of absentee ballots are overwhelmingly in our favor. In North Carolina, are even well in our favor in Florida. And Florida has a history of early voting because of older folks being there. So it's not like, oh, it's skewed to Democrats. We don't have to see what happens. Let's boost Cliff. I like that. Alex Uditsky. So we say over 500 of us here. I wasn't even looking how many. I know we had 1,000 at some point, 800. We go up, we go down. I hope more of you will stay here. What do I need to do? I can get up and dance. I can throw it now. That'll send you running. Other interesting topics to talk about. Trump and Putin. How do you all feel about the fact that Putin was having secret meetings with Trump where I'm sure they talked about nothing? No, they didn't talk at all about conspiracies having to do with Haitian immigrants and other things to help Trump win, which magically always seem to start at RT and then right-wingers pick them up. And for that, he got, of course, COVID tests that did not go to Americans who were dying. Even that, folks, you all know if you follow me, I can come up with a lot of creative insults, right? That cockroachian, atavistic, douchebaggian. In any case, I can do that kind of thing, but I didn't have words for Trump after that because anything I said would have curses in it. People were dying here, and he went and gave these tests to a mass murderer who he loves, who owns him. Yeah, unbelievable. What an unbelievably craptastic piece of trash he is. A gonorrheic. Yeah, I get started on that. I wonder if they nail me for that over here. Gonorrheic isn't, I don't even know if that's really a word, so we'll find out. What else is going on this week that people want to know about? Come on, guys, jump in here. Get Politics Girl on. Okay. She might not. I know, 1 degree of separation. I can't claim to know her personally. Like what she does. She's smart. And I like the idea of people who, not everybody has to have worked in this industry like me to do this. In fact, I think having outside voices is great. In fact, I think having inside voices is great. What I like that I hopefully bring to all this is that I'm both. I've been I've been a columnist that criticizes, and I've been on the inside writing speeches and ads. So, I can kind of talk from both of them. What could Trump's cognitive impairment be? Late stage syphilis. Dave, is it Davo Roberto? Let's see. I want to get into a very detailed conversation about that. Yes. That's it. I'm suspicious, anyhow. With Trump, I feel like it's there's so many forms of dementia it could be. I kind of feel like it's almost like a party where all the various dementias get together, in his head, like, hey, what are you? What are you doing here? Oh, yeah, I'm here because of the syphilis. What are you doing here? Oh, yeah, I'm here because he eats food at Trump Tower, and some of the bacteria gave him E. coli, and we've sort of been stored in his system for a while. What you doing here? Oh, yeah. I'm here from his childhood, man. I'm here when he lost it, when his dad yelled at him about the fact that he wasn't excluding enough Black New Yorkers from their properties, and I started growing in his mind as a virus. I kind of feel like they all probably hang out and talk to each other, and work it out. The various dementias. In a way, they've all come together. It's a beautiful thing, as he might say. Have you heard anything about the Article 5 convention, Julie Van Osdel? I have not. Julie, what is the Article? I know if you're talking about Article 5 of the NATO Charter. In any case, when Stephen Miller, come back and tell me, and I'm happy to talk about it. When Stephen Miller claims to wear his support for Trump on his arm, what do you think he means? Well, I think somewhere there's an alleyway that looked cleaner before he got there. How about that? See, said it even without cursing. Yeah, he's a legitimate case of being a vampire. He's got that look to him and that sort of attitude. And no, for anybody's going to try, yes, I know Stephen Miller is Jewish, but it wasn't related to that. And no, he's not Jewish, even though I am not very Jewish by religion and even, whatever. I don't engage in a lot of the traditions and whatever. That dude, he's more like Martian Manhunter. All right, he's not of this earth. He does not get to claim Judaism, much less humanism. What else we got? Logan Act has no teeth. Paul Young, yeah, I know others were acting with the Logan Act. And look, guys, like the problem here is sometimes, and this is where I've gotten so angry at Merrick Garland. And I get there's a lot to do, but then hire more people. We didn't enforce Hatch Act violations. I mean, I don't think those have a year or two. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Statute of limitations. They violated it so many times while Trump was in office. Did we go after anyone? Kellyanne, who in the past, I'm gonna try to find old videos. I debated her back in the day on Fox and MSNBC. But did we go after her for that? And numerous others of them? No. Logan Act, we have these laws on the books about a lot of this stuff, and I don't understand why we don't enforce them. I'm not a lawyer, so maybe sometime I will have to have someone of that variety on the show, and maybe they can tell you. And maybe the answer is just we're being weak and we don't have enough people. I don't know. Corley, Cliff, do you think he plans to replace Trump? And I mean, if he wins, I think if you read enough, J.D. Vance is at the forefront of the new right, which is a fascistic movement of these tech bros who, 20, 30 years ago, were these libertarian Silicon Valley types, and who just weren't good, but at least were at least socially liberal. And they've become an authoritarian, fascist-like group led by Peter Thiel, who thinks he's going to live forever. That's right. They're putting all of their work into cybernetics because he believes he can live forever as a cybernetic organism. He will probably look a lot like Arnold Schwarzenegger did in the first Terminator when half of his head was blown away. At least if he becomes one, I hope he looks like that. But they do. You need to read some pieces on this. They have right-wing tech, it's a fascism. And they've sort of aligned themselves with some of the Christian right. I don't think they kind of fake like they care about about religion. Clearly they don't, because if they were a Christian right, they at least they'd claim to believe your natural life should end when it ends, not with you being a robot dog, which I so hope Peter Thiel becomes. What was that? Mars attacks that happened to Sarah Jessica Parker. That's what he needs to be. But they have this little group: David Sachs, Elon Musk, all of them. They all embrace this, and that's J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, that idiot, the one that lost out in Arizona, who ran for the Senate. Masters, I can't think of his first name. They're all part of this little cult. It is a fascist cult, and they've embraced Trump very much for the reason you're guessing they did, because he has right-wing charisma. Trust me, I don't get it, but he appeals to people because I guess he makes jokes in a way that, I mean, I can understand why he's more appealing than, let's say, dour-faced Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley. I mean, these are people who, have the personality of an old peed-on lawn chair. So compared to them, Donald Trump gets them there. And if I were Donald Trump at that point, you might want to think about not going into any fifth-floor buildings with balconies. You may want to think about, I don't know, hiring your own guards, because they don't want Donald Trump around. They want J.D. Vance, that new vanguard coming up. They've said before, Peter Thiel said he does not believe in democracy. He thinks it's incompatible with capitalism, and capitalism is the priority. Late stage capitalism that's not even what we have right now. That's not capitalistic enough. All regulations gone. They want that. They believe that they are. Where does this sound familiar from? They should go to that Madison Square Garden thing with their armbands, as people were saying. They believe that they are superior to the rest of us. They are largely, there's some exceptions like Vivek Ramaswamy, but they're largely white, largely male, and they believe they're superior and that they should be the ones running this country as a republic, not a democracy, meaning we appoint people who are going to go there. That's what they want. Is it the 12th Amendment they want to repeal, the one that where we directly elect senators? They want to be able to, but they want to do it themselves. The Star Chamber, should be able to appoint people who then go and represent their interests and our interests. Again, it doesn't sound at all Handmaid's Tale like. That's what they think this country should be, because they know better. Because Peter Thiel is so much smarter than the rest of us. And, it's okay that he's gay. No one will do anything to him. Now, being that he's a sociopath or psychopath, everybody else who's gay, well, you lose your marriage rights, you lose your relationship rights, you lose your health care, you lose all sorts of things because he doesn't care. That's the way they see it, right? They're the exceptions. Cat Turd will be on the Supreme Court by Casmo. Well said. For any of you on Twitter who knows somebody who actually goes with the name Cat Turd and who actually has had Elon Musk retweet him, because that is the genius level. The only person I've seen destroy their reputation more than Donald Trump, because we all knew in New York, if you grew up there, that Donald Trump was a joker and wasn't real, and the whole fire, you're fired was a joke. We knew that. A lot of people did not, who just knew him from The Apprentice or whatever. But all of us, talk about crappy press, fell for the tech press's take on Elon Musk, this genius, this Tony Stark, this forward-looking guy who cared about the environment. He saw opportunities. He stole ideas from people, saw opportunities, saw ways to bring in government subsidies and create companies on our backs and become a billionaire and screw over workers along the way, get charged with sexual harassment and have to buy people off. And all the things he's done. The difference is he was able to get away and do that stuff privately at SpaceX, except for when all of their rockets crash, which they do, or Tesla, where their cars, you make a left turn that blows up. And honestly, I'm stealing this joke from somewhere, but like the Cybertruck honestly looks like two DeLoreans fucked and had a child and had an offspring that they may have aborted. That thing is a large tin can. It's frightening. No, he's not a smart businessman. He's an idiot. And what he says is patently stupid and false and everything. But he kept his mouth shut publicly before. And the tech press told us he was a genius. And now we all know the truth. I mean, I'd love to know how much, his reputation. I'd like to see now. I saw this 6 months ago. His reputation had dropped by 40 percentage points his favorability. Got to believe it's in the teens that passed to this. Well, maybe MAGA. So maybe he's at 30%. Who knows? What else we got? Cybertrucks are just fugly. Yes. Cybertrucks are just fugly. 304. Guys, I'm planning on sticking around a little bit longer. I don't feel a need to leave just yet. If you got other stuff you'd like to ask me. Again, not to be too pushy, I'm going to encourage folks. Even $1.99, 99 cents makes a difference. I'm trying to build something here and have it be independent of, what else I do, so that I can, do this more often. So, a super chat, if you want to join my Patreon and, or my YouTube members club, I want to let you know, I've just hired somebody to help pay attention to that because I am not organized. It is not my strength. I apologize. I have an ADD-ish personality, and therefore creativity, yes, but organized, no. And so there are some people where you've joined, and I thank you so much. But I owe you a few things, and I'm, and I'm going to, now that we have somebody, they're going to get to you forthwith. But please join. It is a way that you can support me. Give Cliff all your money. Tim Fullerton for the win. Guys, while Tim Fullerton is telling you here to give me all your money, you should go follow Tim Fullerton's YouTube channel. Don't do it till after this is over, though, because he was a brilliant, I believe he ran digital for the Commerce Department under Obama. We worked together for Everytown for Gun Safety. He did digital. Francie Ryle, who just joined, thank you so much. He did it for for Everytown for Gun Safety. We both worked on some things that have, look, we haven't gotten to where we need to be, but have helped pass numerous state laws and executive orders and other things that have made us a safer country. And the federal law that Biden brokered, a lot of those loopholes we're fighting to close. So Tim, how high? You are too kind, my friend. No, I'm not too kind, Tim. You're freaking brilliant. I'm trying not to curse, Tim, because they demonetized me partially last time. I've screwed up and cursed at least a dozen times, but I'm trying, man. But seriously, stay here, don't leave. And then the name Tim Fullerton should be on your mind, and you should absolutely go follow him, or subscribe to his YouTube channel, because he's one of the smartest people I know in politics. Big money going against Sherrod Brown, Ohio. John Deff, it is. That is one of the reasons I am happy that the fundraising group I work for, we've helped raise a lot of money for Sherrod. Others have helped raise a lot more. So I'm not bragging about myself. We've done our little part. They've done their bigger part. Sherrod has raised a lot of money. Sherrod is got a unique charisma that he convinces people that vote for Trump to vote for him, because he can go into a top of the line country club and meet with donors and talk to, and I've seen that. And he can go into a trucker hall, put on a hat and the jeans tuxedo, as we say, and he fits right in. He's one of the most talented politicians out there. The last I saw, they had him down to a 4-point advantage, and that was because of all the big corporate spending. He'd been up 8, but I think, as far as I know, he's held steady there. But I will encourage you all to give money to Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown and John Tester, folks, if we hold those 2 seats, and I think Sherrod's in good shape, but there's still a little bit of risk. John Tester could go either way. Another brilliant politician, multi-family generation of farmers, the real deal. I mean, he lost like 2 or 3 fingers in the combine. Hopefully he didn't lose his middle one for when he runs into Republicans. But he, he's the real deal too, and he's found a way to go against the grain in Montana. Montana will be closer this time because Kamala will do better overall, but still he's going to have to overcome like a 12-point to 15-point loss there, or at best 10-point loss there. So those 2, and then I'm telling you, Colin Allred, Rick Scott, and Lance Kuntz, those 3 have a shot. Jim Williams, I believe the thugs who deal in tomfoolery, and Jack Ashley will be voted out of office. Another super chat. Thank you so much, Jim. I do too. Not everywhere, sadly. There's some places very stacked against us, but there are going to be some really interesting places. Guys, if people really turn out, and they're going to put every barrier up, but if you look at the map and look at places, first of all, there's an independent running right now who's saying he will not caucus with either Democrats or Republicans. Very smart. So it wouldn't be a net 2 for us if he wins, but it'd be a net 1, because they'd lose somebody, and there'd be somebody who didn't caucus either side in Nebraska. He's ahead of Debbie Fisher. Just avoided the Democratic branding. Very smart. So we could pick up, knock off a Republican. And that would be a pickup as far as I'm concerned in Nebraska. Colin Allred and Debbie McCausland-Powell, I believe we're going to win those 2 seats. Those 2 states are going to be very close. If we lose them, we're going to lose them by a point or 2. I think they're going to overcome that, and they're going to win. I think Kuntz has a great shot against Hawley, and you should support him. And my dark pick, that could happen. Again, people forget this. If we only lost by 3 points in the governor's race in Mississippi, people are like, Mississippi burning? Here's what most of you don't know. Carolyn Phelps, $2. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. The super chat. In Mississippi, we start off with a 38% Black population. I don't know if you knew that. So, and we're not winning every Black, but we'll win 85 to 92% of the Black vote, likely. and then another 5% minority vote, which will probably win 75 to 80% of. So you're getting yourself a good chance you're in the low 40s, you know, maybe mid 40s before you get to white voters. We will lose most white voters, but they've got cities. They're not the big cities, but even in places Biloxi and Jackson and whatever, those suburbs were one of the reasons why. I mean, the guy did have also the last name Presley, which didn't hurt, who's a cousin of Elvis's, who ran against Tate Reeves, who also was hated. So I'm not saying this is going to be as easy as, you know, but we only lost by 3 points, guys. And if we turn everybody out, if there's massive turnout beyond the polls, you could see a single-digit close race in Mississippi, certainly for the Senate. C. Roden with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. And this is the reason, by the way, why we need to get past the filibuster, get rid of it, and pass the Voting Rights Act again. Because once we secure these places, once they can no longer kick people off the ballot, not only will Ohio be at the very least a swing state, it may lean Democratic. Not only will Florida at the very least be a swing state, it will likely lean Democratic. Texas will absolutely be a swing state that could lean Democratic. And then other states that have fallen a little further behind, Missouri, Iowa, will come closer into being, and Mississippi in some places like that. I'm not telling you it's going to magically, you know, we're not going to magically win in Idaho. Although here and there with a great candidate, it happens. We won with Doug Jones in Alabama, right? So it can happen. Now there, the African-American population is 26%, and that 12% does make a big difference. But if you get somebody who is a pretty normal MAGA guy, which means he's a creeper who would like to hang around pizza shops at malls and wink at young ladies and would call them up in trig class, even though he was a guy who claimed he wanted the 10 Commandments put up in classrooms, he called them up in trig class and asked them out on dates. And I think he even got rejected. So you're pretty pathetic. Probably more, if that's their nominee, we can win. But point being, there are a number of states that can be swing states. We can make them that if we win big enough this time so that we control the Senate, control the House, and have the votes to get rid of the filibuster and pass the Voting Rights Act again. Somebody's pointing out here, yes, Andy Beshear in Kentucky. Incredibly talented, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from it. Helped that his dad had been governor before. The name Beshear is a big name in Kentucky, but he was one of my, he may have been actually, and I love Tim Walz, my top choice for Kamala. He's young, he's got a ton of charisma, he knows how to cut down the other side, and he knows how to appeal to Republicans in a way that Sherrod Brown does. So yes, Andy Beshear, and come on, I'm not going to forget her name, so I'm going to look it up. I apologize because this is obnoxious. Laura Kelly, Kansas governor, Democrat. Okay, we win in some of these places. You know, swing state of North Carolina. Roy Cooper's been there 2 terms. You know, and we're going to win this time. Mark Robinson, a little bit of an assist there. We can win in a lot of these states, and if it gets suddenly 3 to 5 points closer because they can't suppress votes, they can't gerrymander. Watch how things are going to change. This is the nightmare of the right. This is why Project 2025 exists, because they know what happens if we win and we take action. It's everything you guys, if you guys, who said that? We got the blue walls, yes, and I love him, and I was just going to mention him, more likely to elect a Dem in Minnesota. Well, yes, that is true, but we already have Dems in Minnesota, which is great. We want to continue to elect them. And we need a Democratic state. We need to hold a Democratic state house there. I was just talking to my good friend Matt McNeil, who may have shown up here if he had a chance or not, who is based in Minneapolis, St. Paul. You should go to 8 a.m. 9:50 at some point, and you should go online and listen to his show. He's brilliant. He's also on in Chicago and Seattle. Tim Walz, when he won, and when we pulled something not done since FDR and won back, I believe it was 4 chambers or 5, State House, State Senate in Michigan, State House, State Senate in Minnesota, and it was State House in Pennsylvania, state legislative chambers while we had the president in office. Not done since FDR, folks, in 1930, I believe. When we did that, go look at all the legislation that Tim Walz passed in Minnesota. It's incredible. Background checks, assault weapons ban, funding to fight climate change, codifying Roe, LGBTQ protections, minimum wage raise, pro-union legislation. I mean, family medical leave, like I can go on. It's everything that has 60, 70, 80, and even 90% support that we cannot get through because of their filibustering. We will pass so much amazing legislation, guys, if we can do this. If we can get rid of the filibuster and hold that Senate and House and the governors and governors and the presidents and the presidency, that I think the Republicans will likely be locked out for a generation, and they know that too. Hence, they're throwing everything at the wall they can, including ketchup and Mar-a-Lago, which right now, with everything going on with Trump, I think his sentencing is coming up soon. So it may be, what is it, DEFCON 5, as I believe Kanye put it, thereby threatening Jews and getting two things wrong in the same sentence. It is DEFCON, not DEFCON, and 5 is the lowest, 1 is the highest. But good try, Kanye, or Ye, or whatever your stupid name is. Good try with that. In any case, and he ate dinner at Mar-a-Lago, so he's probably seen the ketchup all over the walls too. What else we got, guys? I think I made it an hour and 17 minutes last time. We're now at an hour 16. What should we do? I think I'm pretty close to being ready to hit a stopping point. Believe it or not, I have a few things I have to sort out with my taxes before next week. But you know what? Like a good patriotic American, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to do it and pay them. Because as John Maynard Keynes said, taxes are the price you pay for a civilized society. Maybe right-wingers will learn that someday. We need Joe Biden. Remember Infrastructure Week every week? Right. We need Joe Biden to come and pass that bill, spend our tax money on. There are 2 bridges here between Cincinnati and Kentucky that literally had chunks falling in the water. Now they don't. You want to know one of the reasons why Mitch McConnell brought along 12 Republicans and they voted for that bill? Yeah, Mitch wanted to be able to drive across that bridge without falling in too. Who just said that? I think this might be the best way to finish this up. Andy Travels, I mean, there's so many of you guys. I want to make sure that I call out as many people as I can. And I've already called you out before, but you said something here. Polls don't vote, 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 vote. We broke records in the midterm, guys. This is the best way to end it. This will be Kamala's win. Okay, well, we started with Kamala's wins. We'll end with Kamala's win. If she wins, forget, the diversity, first woman president, first South Asian president, all of this. Beyond that, a brilliant, charismatic, compassionate, leader who is some of the best experience we've ever had in that office. Like him or hate him, George H.W. Bush had run the CIA and had been a congressman, been vice president. Hillary Clinton, amazing credentials. One of the reasons she should have won out of many. Right? Joe Biden, vice president for years, for 8 years, senator for years. Was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, senators ever elected. Kamala Harris, understanding to be a DA, prosecutor, attorney general of a 40 million person state, which is bigger than a lot of countries, senator from that same huge state, vice president. She's ready. And so vote, 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 because if we do, we will elect her. And if we elect her, this is one of those points in history, guys. 2 very different directions. We elect her, we elect enough senators, important too. And then, as I told you, everything changes. Everything. So please, 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 you got an 18-year-old in your house, make sure they're registered to vote. As I told you, we got one who's not quite 18 yet, but will be before the election. And I think in most states, if you're turning 18 anytime this calendar year, you can still register. Get them registered. Get your friends registered. Talk to your friends. I think Tony talks about this a lot. Make a plan to vote. Make a plan to bring friends with you. Make a plan to bring people with you that don't normally vote, that care. Make sure you get this messaging out there. Everybody has a role to play. Send this video places. Send Tony's videos places. Send other creators, other great moments from Kamala Harris. Use your voice. Leave everything on the field. All right. I have another son. I talked to my older one. I have a younger one who plays soccer, who has been amazing this year, and I've been so proud of, and has just rocked it. And when I see him come off the field, he looks like he's about to collapse, and that's because he's left everything on the field. Leave it all on the field, guys, because if you lose and you didn't leave on the field, my God, and that includes me. But but also if we win, but we say, my God, if we'd won that one extra Senate seat, my God, if we'd won a couple of those extra state House seats, we'd have the entire state legislature here and we'd be able to pass all these great laws. Or we will have gotten rid of a Republican supermajority. So we can, here in Ohio, we're so far behind. If we can get people out to vote for issue 1 and gerrymandering's gone and Sherrod Brown's reelected and hell, we vote for Kamala Harris here. We're so close, they're showing ads here on the other side. Or within 2 points, 3 points, something like that. But they have a supermajority because they gerrymandered it. Now, the gerrymandering will be undone when we pass it, but it'll take a little bit of time to put that into place. Whereas immediately, if we vote them out, we will vote out their supermajority, and then we can effectively block with a veto what they want to do. There's something like this in every state. We have 3 Ohio Supreme Court justices. There's Supreme Court justices in a number of states. We will win a majority of our state Supreme Court if we elect them. I'm sure a lot of you have states like that. I think they're up in places like North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Really important stuff. Wisconsin, right? Remember when we elected that judge in Wisconsin and made all the difference in the world? It's why they're pro-choice now, among other things. So I am going to leave it on the field. I don't have a going away phrase like surfs up effort, and because I'm monetized, and again, I'm going to figure out these rules because damn it, I need to be able to curse. That's something I do, and I still did about 15 times this show, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Held most of them back, but I don't have a going away line. I will have one soon. So the best thing I can say to you is I'll say to you what I think, I don't remember I said it last time, but I will say to you that be unlike MAGA, right? MAGA has more foreskin than forethought. Have more forethought than foreskin. Thanks for being here. We'll be back on Tuesday, the newly added Cliff's Edge show. I don't know. Live stream. We'll call it that for now because it goes as long as we feel like going. Seriously, thank you all. You're awesome. Love you guys. You let me do this. You let me interact with you. This is my favorite thing I've done on YouTube yet. So after I start doing 2 days, don't be surprised if it's 3 and 4 more. In any case, more forethought than foreskin. Take care, guys. I will see you soon if I can figure out how to get out of here, which I'm not sure I can. So let's see. Okay, I think I have. Take it easy.